It's Sunday, the 15th of November. I'm here in quarantine, despite the fact that I did escape one day this week and went for a coronavirus test. That was 5 days after I got back from the USA. It was negative. So there's no earthly reason why I should still be quarantining for a further 5 days. And yet, they're the government rules, which kind of sums up this madness. I mean, what a mess. And you can read today's newspapers and you can believe what you want to believe. But here are the facts. We're going through the biggest peacetime economic crisis in history. The clock is running down to the end of Brexit negotiations, and yet the girls and boys in Westminster are all busy playing games, all trying to stab each other in the back. Who are the winners? Well, tough to work out, but it does look like we now have a second Queen. Carrie is now the second Queen of England and clearly has the ear of Boris and is influencing policy in the most extraordinary way. Now look, Dominic Cummings, to be honest, I never liked the bloke. It wasn't just the scruffiness, it was the fact that he was actually pretty arrogant. And was he a genius? No, not really a genius, but certainly bright. Because every one of those slogans, I mean, take back control, for example. I remember UKIP first used that back in 1998. And everything he did in the referendum and in the very successful general election campaign, in which, of course, we stood aside in those Conservative seats, all of it came from the UKIP and Brexit Party playbook. And yet never at any point could he acknowledge that, because that really wouldn't fit the script of genius, would it? But he was bright enough to recognise the things that we'd got right. And clearly, his entire career, his success was based on Brexit. I'd have been quite happy for him to go on the 1st of January. For him to go and Lee Cain to go right now when no final decision has been made is bad news, because the Leavers are leaving Downing Street. So who's going to really influence Boris over the course of the next days and weeks? And I say influence because the one thing we know about Boris Johnson, I know personally from trying to work with him, is he simply cannot make decisions. He's always worried about short-term unpopularity. A Margaret Thatcher or a Winston Churchill, he most certainly is not. And the big influences now, with Cummings gone, with Cain gone, well, of course it's going to be Queen Carrie and Allegra Stratton, the new presswoman, the new boss of press. Now, she's on a personal level absolutely delightful. Used to write for The Guardian, used to work for the BBC, says she voted Leave. I wouldn't be quite so sure. And these will now be the influences on Boris Johnson. If you add to that the likelihood that the duffer, Joe Biden, is going to become the next US president and has said already that our relationship with the USA will depend on how happy Brussels and Dublin are with the deal, you can see right now that Brexit is in great peril. Now, of course, all the commentariat, all the people who are part of that chumocracy on the so-called centre-right of British public life say, no, Boris is absolutely determined to deliver the right kind of Brexit. Well, we heard that, did we not, with Mrs May. And I mentioned the chumocracy. Isn't it funny that the very same people, they can be lobbyists, they can be journalists, they can be politicians, and they're all completely interchangeable. We're beginning to see some of the PPE contracts that were given out to their mates. We're beginning to understand just how much public money has been given to Rupert Soames, his company Serco. He, of course, a grandson of Winston Churchill. And you begin to understand that the whole country is being run by this little tight-knit club of people. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them went to the same school. And frankly, I think when we look back on this, we'll be appalled at this narrow clique that are running our country. Now, as I say, we're heading into the last stages of this Brexit negotiation. Every day you hear about fishing. Every day you hear about state aid rules, indeed, even level playing fields. Tell you what no one's talking about, because it wouldn't suit anybody in the chumocracy to even talk about this. I mean, goodness gracious me, let alone mention it at a Notting Hill dinner party. I'm going to use this word, it may offend you on a Sunday evening, immigration. What in the final Brexit deal is going to make any difference to the free movement of people? I wonder. I suspect very little indeed. And while we're on it, well, it's gale strewn today, so they're not coming into Dover, but well over 8,000 this year that we know of have come across the English Channel in dinghies. They're coming back this Friday, by the way. I've seen the forecast. Not that we'll do a single thing about it. But think on this. We are now housing in hotels, private housing, and a couple of former army camps. We're now housing 56,000 illegal immigrants. And unless we get the right Brexit deal, nothing will change from January the 1st at all. Now, there are those that will tell you that with Cummings gone, there's a bright new future for Boris and the Conservative Party. They're going to go green. There's a big green speech coming up this week from Boris. They're going to go big on greenery. They're going to go big on trans rights. They're going to go big on generally not causing offence to anybody, and I've no doubt taking the knee to BLM and other Marxist organisations. Don't they understand, because Cummings did, don't they understand that it's the red wall voters, every one of whom had previously voted UKIP or voted for the Brexit Party, that gave Boris the majority of 80. They are not interested in taxpayer-funded green ideas that might be popular with Zach Goldsmith and Carrie, but the idea is going to create jobs. No, actually, it will cost jobs. People want our borders controlled, a proper Brexit delivered. And I fear that if Boris is now being convinced by those around him that a fresh, new, lovely sort of Cameroon approach to everything, let's be cuddly and fluffy and lovely and popular in central London, if he thinks that is going to save his political career, he's in for the most almighty shock. I think what you've seen over the course of the last week is the beginning of the end for Boris Johnson, the beginning of the end for a Conservative government that just a year ago got a majority of 80 and has done absolutely nothing with it at all. And I fear there are going to be more Brexit battles to fight in the years to come. I'm not going to stand by and just let this thing be, just run into the long grass for us not to get the benefits that Brexit should give us. I won't do that without standing up and fighting. I hope that you won't do that without fighting back as well. If I'm wrong, then tell me at the end of December that I'm an idiot and that I should have trusted Boris all the way through. But I'll make this prediction right now. Brexit is in peril.